What's up, everyone? Vinny Musso from Musso Athletics here for day 29 of our 30 days of force. So, really coming into the home stretch now. Again, focusing on our last 10 days of the 30 days, focusing on force production, that upward part of our V analogy that we've used to describe force. If you're not familiar with that, I suggest going back, starting at the beginning of our videos. Start with the intro video because a lot of these videos do build off of one another. But again, focusing on force production. So what I wanted to do today was to just kind of give a quick summary of what we've been talking over for the past 9 days now, including today. Just because we did through some graphs and some charts up there, so things things might have kind of felt a little. Might have felt a little bogged down by that. You might have felt a few times I might have kind of rambled on a little bit. So today I kind of wanted to just really focus on the main takeaways from our last 9 days. So if you remember, we've been focusing on, in terms of force production, talking about strength and power. So those are the two main aspects of force production we've been focusing on, and we've talked about the importance of building a base of strength before really going on and focusing on power. So we talked about those strength exercises, kind of those higher force, lower velocity movements, working on absolute strength. So those are your heavier movements. So your heavier squats, your heavier deadlifts, heavier bench press, shoulder press, whatever it is, whatever part of your body that you're trying to build strength in, which should be your total body. But if we remember, strength is, if we're doing a strength set for an exercise, 6 reps or less at 85% or more of your 1 rep max for that exercise is how we work strength. And again, the point in the reason why we want to build a base of increase our absolute strength is it gives the body a higher capacity and greater capability to produce power, so to produce high amounts of force at a high velocity, which is what translates over to whatever athletic event that you're training for. So building a base of strength is what we want to really focus on in the first part, when we're really focusing on force production. And we also talked about monitoring the transfer from your weight room work to whether it's your skills workouts or your practices or whatever it is that you're doing at the time, along with the training. Because we did talk about is it possible to be too strong? Can you start to lift too heavy that it starts to actually have a negative carryover effect? And we talked about that, and again, that was the video where we talked about there's no right answer. It's, if you're training yourself, the easiest way to really answer that question is you'll notice that if you are kind of starting to lift a little too heavy, your body won't feel as fresh. You'll kind of feel bogged down, a little heavy. Your joints might start to hurt just because you might have put on a little bit too much body weight for your body to handle. So again, the key there is you just want to monitor how our body feels while we're building that base of strength. Again, if we get to a certain point where we feel like we are starting to get almost too strong and our body's starting to not feel great, then it's really all about maintaining your strength. We're not trying to build more because we've kind of already hit the max that our body can handle at that point in time. So it's really all about maintenance after that. Okay, so again, that's the first, really one of the first things that we focus on: the importance of building a base of strength, but also monitoring how we feel. After we build that base of strength, then we transition to power. So this is when we started talking about the force velocity curve, and we threw up the graph of 1 rep maxes and velocities. So again, if you haven't seen that video, go ahead and take a look at that one. So it's within the last couple of videos. But as we transition to power, we're decreasing force, which I know sounds weird because we want to work on producing a lot of force. But when I say decreasing force, we're really talking about lowering the percentage of your 1 rep max. So again, if you remember the chart and the graph, as force went down, velocity went up, and the force on that graph is really talking about percentage of your 1 rep max. So we're not moving those heavy 85% of your 1 rep max and up weights anymore. We're starting to move down that chart. So instead of 85%, we're down to 80, 75, 70, 65. We're working our way down in terms of force that way, but we're increasing the velocity. So we're really, again, focusing on, we're still trying to move weight. We're not going from super heavy weights to absolutely nothing. We're still trying to go relatively heavy, but just really focus on moving that weight as quickly as you can. So as we transition to power, again, our force in terms of our 1 rep max decreases, but our velocity increases. Okay, so we talked about the importance of that. And one thing that I actually forgot to put here is we talked about recruitment. So we talked about recruitment during our isometrics, where isometrics help with increasing the overall number of muscle fibers that the body recruits and how quickly we recruit them. So we kind of build on that with our recruitment work in our force production phase. So we basically take that new ability of more muscle fibers and recruiting them more effectively and efficiently, and we teach those fibers to now produce force very rapidly and very explosively. So we build that base during the isometric and redirection phase, and then we work on our recruitment in terms of force production, which again we talked about a couple of videos ago. So build that base of strength before going on to our power, transition to power, and then we talked about on that chart as well, absolute strength, speed, power, speed, strength, and speed. So a really good way, and I don't think I used this term in that video, but peaking is the term that's often used in the strength and conditioning world to describe that. So we want to peak for our event or peak for our sport. So essentially, we want our body to be as explosive as possible, as we come into our sporting season, or maybe it's an athletic event. It's just a 1-day event, but we want to make sure that we're in really top physical condition and top physical condition in terms of explosiveness for that event. So we kind of talked about moving down that chart. So as we kind of decrease in our percentage of our 1 rep max and increase in our velocity, we are going from absolute strength focus to strength speed focus to optimal power focus to speed strength focus, and then to speed focus. Okay. So that is, we want to, and depending on how long you're going to focus on each one of these really depends on your overall training schedule, your training phases, and how much time you have to train for the event that you're training for. So again, we focus on absolute strength first. Then, as we kind of, work down in weight a little bit, but start trying to work on moving that weight a little faster, we go to strength speed. Then we decrease the weight a little bit more and try to move even faster to work on our optimal power. Decrease the weight more, trying to move it even faster for speed strength. And then our speed, we're essentially just using our body weight. Because again, our body weight is essentially what we're going to have to use during our event. So we want to be peaking with working with our body weight and producing as much force as we can with our body weight. That being said, as I talked about, moving down in your 1 rep max and the overall amount of weight you're using and increasing the velocity, we still want to remember this phrase that we've used throughout the 30 days that still applies now, and that is, emphasis does not equal exclusive, or emphasis does not equal exclusivity. And what that means is, while we do want to focus on one of these at a time, we don't want to only work on those. So when we're working our absolute strength, when we're in our absolute strength part of our force production phase of training, we still want to throw in aspects of, down the chart, as we've referred to it as. So even when we're focusing on moving heavy weight, we still want to work, down in, for some exercises, down in weight and high in velocity, because that's going to help us, gradually transition that strength that we're building. We're teaching our body to use that strength in an explosive manner. So we're not just doing strength and then just strength, speed, just power, and so on and so forth as we move, down the chart there. So that's something key that we definitely always want to focus on, is emphasis does not equal exclusivity. we emphasize certain parts of training. So when we are in our absolute strength part of our force production phase, we're emphasizing it. So the majority of our exercises, 70% and up are, or about, sorry, not 70% up, about, 70% of our exercises should focus on absolute strength, with the other 30-ish%, focusing on kind of lower weight, higher velocity movements. And that, applies to every phase that we're in. So even when we're down here, getting ready to peak for our event, to peak for our sport, and we're in the speed phase, where again, we're really focusing on, very low weight and just very high and explosive velocities, really working on that explosiveness. We still want to do some absolute strength training, because we do want to maintain that strength that we built. So we don't want to just completely throw, those heavier, higher resistance, higher weight movements, to the wayside. We still want to, work on them to maintain the strength that we've built. Because maintaining that strength is going to keep our body, having that capacity and that ability to, produce force, very powerfully and very explosively. Okay, so again, just a quick summary of kind of the main talking points that we've talked about over the past 9 days. Okay, so that'll do it. That'll do it for today's video. Stay tuned. We have one more day. If you haven't had a chance yet, first make sure you like the video. Definitely give it a thumbs up. We'd appreciate that. If you haven't had a chance either yet, subscribe to the channel, share the video, and also take a look at Amiso Athletics on Instagram, where we have more training content talking about concepts like these. All right, so thanks a lot, everyone. See you tomorrow.